You're listening to Nectar, sweet musings for your creative soul. And now your host, Stacey Maney.
All right, so in today's show, we have Sam, who is a mindful business coach, and she is dedicated to helping others create authentic lives they love. And what I love about Sam is that she comes from the spiritual background and entrepreneurship and business and marketing, all the things, right? That if you're a spiritual entrepreneur or someone who's creating from this, heart space that feels really tender and feminine, all of the business stuff can feel kind of icky. And like, we don't really know how the two of them come together. And so in this episode, Sam speaks to, what happens when she works with spiritual entrepreneurs and where they have their blocks and where they get stuck, and then how she helps them move through that and create these businesses with intention and with more of this conscious energy. And I love what she speaks to. I won't ruin the episode, but she talks about the intersection between the masculine and feminine energy and a business and spirituality, and what happens to our businesses, the growth that we can experience when we learn how to actually combine these two. And she shares one of her favorite meditations, and I love this meditation. I've never done, it's a meditation and a visualization about creating just a character around, whatever creative project or entrepreneurial adventure that you are beginning. There's a really cool exercise we'll go through in this discussion that will hopefully guide you and help you get more clarity about what you're creating next. And so enjoy. Welcome, Sam.
Hey, Stacey. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm very excited to have this conversation today because I really geek out when it comes to like good design and good communication. And I know that's like where you're coming from and a huge part of your background with a spiritual twist as well. So that's like, that checks all my boxes right there. Could you introduce yourself and kind of a little bit about maybe your background and what you're up to right now?
Of course. So I am a coach and a marketing advisor, and I am all about mindful growth. So that's for individuals, teams, businesses. A little bit about my background. I was in marketing for over 10 years, mainly in the tech space, but it also bridged to Web3, crypto, blockchain companies, even AI companies before this big AI surge happened.
Right.
But in those 10 years, I also worked with yoga studios, nonprofits, so lots of different categories. Alongside that, I was also in the yoga meditation world, doing Reiki training, doing my yoga teacher training. And I felt really split for a long time. And eventually, a couple of years ago, I started to bring them together. And I realized that helping people approach business with that spiritual, holistic perspective was something that I really loved. And then vice versa too, helping people in the spiritual space stand up businesses was also something I really cared about. So that's kind of the world I play in right now.
Yeah, I love that those two worlds can complement each other and support each other. My question as you're explaining that is, what do you find, when you're dealing with like the spiritual entrepreneurs and the yoga studios, like what are some of their biggest things that they're challenged with, or they get stuck on?
Yeah, that's a great question. I find that it's the technology piece, and it's understanding all the different channels and coming up to speed on all the traditional marketing business type work streams, if you will. So a lot of, yoga instructors, for instance, they are so passionate and they're wonderful at what they do and noticing energy and holding space. And that's such important, powerful work. But then when it comes to the business side, they're overwhelmed. They feel stuck with certain programs and they just don't know how to reach more people.
Yeah, that's so true. What is the languaging you use, or what are some of the tools that you give them to overcome that and kind of understand like this whole technical world that we live in, right? It's so much a part of our reality right now to understand all of these ways to communicate with people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about small goals. So it's really easy to be overwhelmed and think, okay, I want to have this business and I want to use Instagram to, create a community. So if that's the example that we're working with, well, that opens up a lot, right? Then it's, well, do I do posts or stories, and how do I create content for that? And do I need a calendar to manage that? Do I need programs to manage that? Right. So any little piece can be opened up and it becomes this giant can of really hairy worms. So my thing with people is just really small goals, one step at a time, right? And being really intentional. So bringing in that energetic piece of what feels best to you. When we think about different marketing channels to use, for instance, let's talk about each one and what they will demand on your time and what that actually looks like. So you understand the expectations down the road. And then you can start to parse out, okay, I actually don't want to do Instagram. That seems like a lot.
Right.
I don't want to do all that stuff. Let's stick with email because I like writing. So I can just do one email, every week or 2 weeks, or maybe every month.
Right.
And so it's figuring out what works for you, but in small steps.
Well, and I love how you're bringing in the intention piece, right? Like all of these beautiful people with these businesses, and it's heart-centered. I know we were just talking about that, but I feel like all of this comes from the heart. And when you have this sensitivity and this awareness of all of the energy and that intention behind it, I feel like you're automatically going to be like more successful when you design or create something, because that is key, for me, at least, when it comes to good communication and good design. So I love that.
Yeah, you can feel it, right? Especially in the design world. I mean, creativity, it is that kind of spiritual channel. It's giving something to the world. It's putting something in your own sort of package that kind of almost comes through you in a way. So, yeah, we can't lose that piece.
Can you talk more about it coming through you? Yeah.
So, well, so many. What kind of creativity do you want to talk about?
I just think about like the birth of a business or a creative idea, and how would you guide people through, almost before they even get to the social media part and sharing it with people. If a client comes to you with this idea for a business or in this community, it could even be like a book or, a painting. How would you kind of guide them in that process to create something?
Oh, I love this. Okay. So there are a few different ways, but one of my favorites is this kind of signature meditation that I do with people. And it's really grounding, and you think through what is the emotion of that next project, whether it's a book or painting or business, and think, what are you trying to invoke? So let's say if we were creating Nike, then we would be wanting to help people feel like an athlete, right? And so then it's tapping into, okay, what does it mean to feel like an athlete? And focusing on that emotion, and then letting that grow and kind of bloom into a character. And then you start to interact with that character, and you can start to ask, you can imagine yourself going like on a date with that character, like going to get a beverage, like a coffee, and, notice like, what is that character wearing? What's the fabric made out of? What does their voice sound like? What type of words do they use? When you greet them, how do they greet you? Do they give you a handshake? Do they give you an awkward wave across the street? Do they give you a warm hug? If they do give you a hug or a handshake, what is that like? What is it like to be met by that character? And then imagine yourself having a conversation with them, asking whatever you need to, whatever's coming up for you. And then, bidding adieu, saying goodbye to that character, and then coming out of that meditation. And what that does a couple different things. First is you're able to tap into that energy of what's next. So there's a little bit of manifestation there, but then you actually get to personify it and create an identity with it. And that can be a really great driving force when you're creating, because you have something in mind, there's something pulling you towards it. And then that creates a channel, right? It's that relationship between you and the thing. And the third thing is that it separates you from the thing. So you're not over identifying with the piece of art or the business, because even if like you're your business, like you're a coach, for instance,
Right.
it's so important that that business is separate from you. Right. So yeah, that's my favorite practices.
Wow. Yeah, I know. And I love that you're bringing in. I'm looking at this print that I have next to me right now. Like every time I think about branding and our businesses, I think it's like we have this energetic makeup, right? Like that is uniquely us. And then it's like I almost see like we're printmaking, like we're just doing a print of ourselves on like, like just a normal print. And it's like that, yeah, then it gets to be separate and it's like this reflection of us. And I love that too, because it gives you freedom to change. It gives your business freedom it creates these two separate pieces because I think we get so over identified with our work, even with the term like artist or creative, and it can almost become a burden. So that feels like a really healthy difference right there to have that separate from you. So do you want to do that meditation? Should we let people kind of go through that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I have a couple more questions after that, but this feels like a good spot to do that.
Okay, cool. Okay, perfect. So find a comfortable seat. If you are driving and listening to this, please don't close your eyes. It's on the road, but you can listen. All right, so let your eyes drift closed. Feel your feet on the ground or your seat in a chair, and just notice where your body meets the earth. Notice the sensation of the earth that you're meeting, whether you're walking, sitting, or lying down. I want you to notice your next inhale and exhale, just in its natural rhythm, natural state. Then take a deep inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. So notice your inhale and exhale and just the energy of your natural breath. And your next inhale, take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. We'll do 2 more deep breaths in. On your inhale, let the breath collect any tension or stagnant energy that needs to be released. And let your exhale carry that out. Your final inhale, and then exhale. And let your body really settle. Remember those contact points with the earth. And then we'll start to think about that next chapter. So the next project you're working on or calling in, your next chapter as an individual. And start to just notice, what is that subject, if you will? Bring it into the center of your mind's eye. And then in your mind's eye, take a step forward and notice, what is the energy you're feeling there that you're calling in? If this project or this next chapter were to be released into the world, what would be the feeling that it carries with it, the feeling that it invokes from others? And start to notice what that feeling is like in the body. Maybe it's a warm expansiveness in the chest. Maybe it's a really innovative product or storyline. Maybe there's a certain color that comes to mind. And now let this blossom into a character. This can be a person, maybe even a creature or animal. It doesn't have to be human, but a character that you can interact with. And as you let it blossom, notice what it's wearing. Notice what it looks like. Is it tall? Is it short? Is it narrow? Is it wide? If it's wearing clothes, what are those clothes made out of? How do those clothes drape its figure? Notice this character walking down a street. How does it walk? When people pass by it, how do they react? And now picture that you're meeting this character for a beverage. You can choose the time of day, what kind of beverage. It could be coffee or tea in the morning. It could be a drink at night. Whatever fits this feeling that's walking in this figure. And now meet this character. Notice how it greets you. Notice the tone of voice. Greet it with warmth and curiosity. And now sit down with this character. And you can begin to have a conversation with it. And if you have one question for this character of this next chapter, you can ask that question now. And now we're going to speed it up a little bit. If you're doing this at home, you can hit pause and continue to interact with this character. But for this exercise, now it's time to depart. So we're going to stand up from this table or wherever they're sitting, wherever they're sharing this beverage. Say thank you for its time. Share gratitude for it being here, for sharing with you. Just say your goodbye or see you later. Notice how it says goodbye or see you later. Notice, again, the tone of voice, the words they use. And let that character fade. You start to come back into your body. Start to feel those contact points where your body meets the earth. Wiggle the fingers or toes, and then let your eyes drift open when you're ready.
I'm going to write a couple things down really quick before I forget. We'll give maybe people a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, once again, you can press pause if you need more time here. That I'm just fascinated by that exercise. Like, I've always worked with like guides, like spiritual guides, archetypes, but like this is a whole different kind of guide coming in, and I love it. I was thinking of a school that I'm starting, and I just have to share it because it's so funny, and it just resonates so much that my character she's like an art school teacher and a beekeeper on the side, but like, she's like all organic, and yeah, at first I almost went to my higher self, which was interesting. And then I was like, okay, no, don't do that because it's too close to me, like it needs to be separate. So, but I feel like there's a lot of things of my higher self in her, but it's not, it's separate. So.
Wow. Oh, I'm like, I have tingles. I'm so happy.
Do you ever recommend like people find a picture or like I don't know, I'm just thinking like, yeah, like a vision board or something around this character could be fun.
Yeah, I was just going to say a vision board is great because often it will turn into your mood board And then from there, you can pull images and colors, and things really start to move from there.
Oh, yeah, no, because now it's a conversation. Like I'm not by myself.
Yeah, you feel less alone.
Wow, that is so wonderful. Yeah. Wow. Now I want to go through like all my creative projects with that meditation, but we'll save that. I'll just replay it.
Oh my gosh, my heart's bursting right now. I'm so happy that
Yeah.
I'm here for you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm trying to look here at I had a couple other questions for you. I'm pulling myself back because I'm like in imagination world right now. Um, I love how you talk about that you're kind of residing at this intersection between spirituality and business. And I know that's a whole discussion right there, but what happens at this intersection between spirituality and business? Could you share a little more?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if you're spiritual, they're
Mhm.
always connected in some way.
Mhm.
But we tend to separate them because that's what we're taught. And that's, if you go to business school, if you have a business, you're worried about the QuickBooks, the accounting, and all
Yeah.
of the metrics, and
Mhm.
all of the numbers, and all of the kind of like masculinity that business is. And that's very important. But there's
Mhm.
also this feminine energetic side to it. And for so long, something felt disconnected. And so when I brought the two together, I was like, oh, this makes so much more sense.
Mhm.
And I find that when the two are together, growth just skyrockets, because when when the right energy is behind something
Mhm.
and it's shared with the world with that authentic energy, it finds the right people and it
So
grows.
chills. Yes. Amen. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I need to take a minute with that because that it resonates. It's so true to my own experience as well. What I'm picturing when you say that is it's almost like business is a channel that can come to us of receiving and giving, right? It's like this receiving and giving, but it almost I'm seeing it as like a container as well for our creative visions and what we want to get into the world. For me for so long I like kept everything really close, like in my heart, in my studio, and it's like it is kind of embracing that masculine energy to get it out there and create these systems for other people to experience it, whatever that is. Not necessarily a system, but maybe more of a structure for people to experience it. So I love that.
Yeah. And I think it takes courage to practice that vulnerability and share those gifts. But I find that when people use their voice in that way and share their creations, whatever that is,
Mhm.
people listen, people show up, and, they love what you have to offer. And I really do believe that everyone has some sort of unique gift. So even if you are an artist or a creative, or you're not really sure how to share that or create a business around it, I promise you that there is a way, and there is a channel, a
Mhm.
business channel, right, to create so more people can interact with what you've created.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would you say is the strength of the feminine energy in business for this next chapter on the planet, Yeah.
Wow, there's so much there.
What is the greatest strength? Maybe that.
I think businesses that just feel very conscious, right? They understand that they have a footprint of some kind. I think we're seeing more sustainable businesses. I think we're seeing teams and organizations within the business context start to really value those healthy interpersonal dynamics. So there's less of that rigid power structure. And I think there's more horizontal organizations. I think there's more collaboration. I think people are starting to deconstruct some of the old ways that business has been done that has actually kind of put a foot on people lower in the totem pole. And I think with social media and these channels that are just opening the floodgates, right, then exposure is increased. So there's like a greater sharing all the time of different gifts and content and and gifts, like with a T, gifts, not just
Right. The gift and gifts.
And I see more energetically aligned businesses starting, and especially creatives understanding that the world wants to receive their gifts that they're creating. And there to be an exchange there.
And the energy matters so much nowadays. People can sense, your intention, they can sense where you're coming from. And it's like how we vibe check each other, and different things we see online, especially as things are more and more online. It's like this sensitivity and this awareness of that energy is just skyrocketing, it seems, in people. So my final question for you is, what would be your number one tip for someone's, starting a business? Let's stick with business. Yeah, starting a business. So maybe they have like this creative work in front of them and they see this opportunity to share it and just give and receive. What would you say to them?
Oh, one thing. Write down your why, your intention for that business. Because again, the power of intention is massive, and the intention will guide the direction of your business. And it's important to write it down and remember it, because when you're starting a business, all of a sudden a million options and like forks in the road appear. And so it's really easy to get off track. But the most successful businesses are ones that remember their initial why. And so if you have an intention and can come back to that and maybe even create like a mission statement around it, then the likelihood that your business is going to succeed is going to grow exponentially.
Wow. Yeah, you were speaking my language. Yes. That is so powerful. Yeah, I'm all about the intention, and it changes everything. It really does. That's like, it's like your anchor moving forward.
Completely.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for all of this wisdom. I'm thinking of all the ways that we can collaborate after this. So
I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is just the beginning. Thank you so much for joining and sharing all of that. I think that's going to be huge for people to hear and consider before they move forward with their projects. So
yep. I'm so glad. And actually, I have a question for you before we fully wrap up.
Okay.
I would love if you could share a little bit about what came up for you in that exercise, and then maybe what you're thinking about next, with however much you want to share with your audience.
Yeah. It's interesting. It was the art school, the hippie art school teacher. And what's coming up is she had this energy. And what's so fascinating to me is when we do our creative projects, like it calls us to operate at this higher frequency, right? Like she came in with this higher frequency of energy, and her energy, I have chills because it's the energy of the future on this planet, of what creativity will look like. It is a creativity that's honoring and interwoven with nature, the natural rhythms around us. It's feminine, right? Like with the masculine support. Like she was very strong and sophisticated, right? Like, but she had this like mother power to her, and this love, like so much love coming in. I always see love and creativity as interchangeable, and just like this lightheartedness that was really, I needed that right now. Like just that it, like she was almost like floating around. She wasn't heavy. I feel like it's like we're just leaving this heaviness and creating just something better, something more nourishing. And I'm trying to think about the question. I had a couple questions for her. I think mainly like if I was ready to do this school, and she's like, of course. And and then I think it was something about how many people could be in the school, and there was just this expansive energy to that question. So it was like, as many people that need it. So
that's so cool. And so the school that you're tinkering with the idea with, or I guess, what is that next project?
So it'll be called the School of Sacred Design. And yeah, it's a school. I'm like, you should totally teach in this school if you would, because it's like I just want to teach creatives the masculine and the feminine sides, like the techniques of art, the structures that they can use in design to support them, and then like how to bring spirit into your projects, how to bring that intention. I used to like practice. I would play school in my basement all the time, like just by myself, with a chalkboard. And I read this thing the other day. It was like whatever you did as a child was like you were directly connected to source and love and like who you're meant to be on this planet. And of course, artist is a huge part for me, but it's this teacher part that's coming forward right now. So yeah.
I feel that. I feel like I can see that for you too.
So yeah, I feel like the expansiveness of it feels really good. So thank you.
Tell me. I love teaching.
I know. Like it's so interesting. I think we're all bringing in just different parts of this new reality, like that gets to happen on the planet. I love what you spoke to with the feminine energy in business. It's like we can do it differently, and it can feel really good too. There's always a discomfort, but it can feel good and be nourishing. So
yeah, there are so many lessons in business. It's a learning journey within yourself, and you start to confront pieces of you that have maybe hid away for a while, but you grow into them, and it's such an empowering journey to go through.
Yeah. So if you have a business on your heart or a project that's like feels really big and that you might need that masculine feminine support, we are here for you. And yeah, we just want you to thrive in whatever you're creating. We're all doing it together. So
yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah, exactly. Which I had to add one more thing, just to find the community as well. But we'll create the communities, we'll find communities. So yeah, you don't have to do it alone. Beautiful. That's a beautiful note to end on right there. Thank you so much, Sam.
Thank you, Stacey, for having me. This was such a lovely conversation, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Me too. Thank you. If you loved what Sam just shared and you want to go deeper with what she teaches and kind of what she was starting to speak to, she's offering a free gift for the listeners, and it's called Magnetizing Soul Aligned Clients. It's a free workshop where you'll be able to figure out who your soul aligned clients are and how to attract them, and also what is standing in their way, so that you can really know how to speak to them and connect with them and ultimately serve them. And what I love about this is there's a 10-minute meditation in there as well to help you go deeper into all of this. There will be a link connected to this video and also on the blog page on my website if you want to learn more about that. And I just wish you all the best as you take those first initial steps in whatever you're creating next, whether that's a business, a book, a painting, and that you can really find this intention that kind of becomes like the heartbeat for that entire project. And yeah, that the right people will find it and resonate with it, and you'll be able to serve them and express your truth in a bigger way in the world.
Thanks for listening to Nectar. Go to staceymaney.com and subscribe to get show updates, opportunities to go deeper, and inspiration sent straight to your inbox.